More money as an IBM earned 7 years ago there than I ever will as a full professor, chair of the history department here at Texas A&M University. I went back to graduate school. Why? Because I'm an idiot? Maybe. Because just in terms of my profession and what I wanted to get out of life was vastly different, and subsequently have become an academic ever since then. If you're familiar with the Old Testament, you know, in the Bible, Joseph is having his dreams, of the Pharaoh's having his dreams, 7 years of fat, 7 years of lean. It's 7 years of fat with IBM, and have been more than 7 years of lean. My wife and I come from very modest backgrounds. Right? Our parents were millionaires, they didn't have stock options. Everything that we've accomplished in our lives has been through our own work. Our jobs, our savings, our investments, etc., etc. Capitalism works very, very well for the Blanke family. I'm a big fan of it. As an economic system, it is the single most important change that has taken place in this country over the last 150 years. So I'm not here to argue against capitalism. What I'm here to argue, in ignorance and stupidity, is that most people are ignorant about the concept of capitalism as an economic system. Well, not me. Well, we'll see. Right? We'll see how it's used. The point that I want to stress here is that capitalism is one of many economic systems. The Southern slave system was an economic system. It did not reward hard work. Feudalism is an economic system. Socialism and communism are economic systems. There are many, many varieties of economic systems. Those economic systems carry rules with them. Rules that we all kind of inherently kind of say, oh, yes, I understand how this works. They're controllable, but that control can be complex. And this last point, predictable. If tomorrow, today, this afternoon, you buy a lottery ticket, you win the lottery, the first thing you decide to do is pay off all your credit card bills. What's going to happen to your credit rating? You just paid off all your credit card bills. Your credit rating goes, the three guys, one other guy with the face mask and all that on the commercials, right? Is your score going to go up or down? It's going to go down. What? You're going to be less of a credit risk, more of a credit risk as a result of that. Why? Because lending institutions are going to say, something weird happened here. This isn't predictable. And we don't like that. Capitalism loves to have predictions. You love to be able to say, I know where things are going. They don't like uncertainty. When the markets crash, why? Because there's uncertainty. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You've got a sense of permanence. You've got a sense of what the markets are going to do. The stock market's going to go up. All right? So there are rules associated with every economic system. The same is true for capitalism. Two types of capitalism. The first one, everybody knows. Merchant capitalism, Adam Smith capitalism. Right? I got something that you want, and I can sell it to you higher because there's more demand. Supply and demand. Merchant capitalism is the basic assumption that if I've got something you want, the price is going to go up. And everybody, once they're out of grade school, kind of knows that. You have a lunchroom, and you got the Snickers bar, and somebody's got an apple. I want 2 apples and milk, and I want your homework for tomorrow, and all that kind of stuff. That's simple merchant capitalism. Right? And by and large, it defines the American economy before the Civil War. The South had staple crops. They had cotton, sorghum, rice, indigo. The rest of the world didn't have it, at least in the volumes that we were selling. And as a result, we made money off of that. It's a fairly simple economic system. If I have $1,000 to invest in this classroom, and I say to somebody, ma'am, you're going to go sell dictionaries on campus, or sir, you're going to go sell beer on campus. Which one should I invest in? $1,000. Oh, no, I should probably invest. No, this one's going to make more money. Right? Buy low, sell high. And the irony is, in America, Adam Smith writes about capitalism, Wealth of Nations. It's published in 1776. He doesn't discover capitalism. He doesn't create capitalism. He's writing about the economic system that seems to be developing in the British Isles as a result of real structural change. Right? So we know that capitalism. The difference is that most of those firms, my $1,000 investment, it's small potatoes. It's relatively easy to start a farm, in terms of you can buy land and get into it. It's relatively easy to start one of these kinds of businesses. I'm going to import China and sell it here in my city. I'm going to import tea and sell it here in my city. It's relatively easy. You don't have a lot of investment of money. And when I die, when I go, the company goes with me. That is not the case with the other type. And that's the one that is going to begin to take root in the United States. It's already started in the North before the Civil War, and that's called industrial capitalism. We are in an industrial capitalist society today, so this is our economic system. The difference here is not just simply buying low and selling high. The difference here is that you are going to add value to something. Right? I can go out and get a shovel full of sand off the beach in Corpus Christi, right around, you know, in the Corpus Christi Bay. If I can turn that sand into silicon and silicon chips and then something that runs your phone, I've added value to it. Am I able to do that? No. I need to invest. I need to create a company that's going to do that, to manufacture that value. It creates engineering. It creates management opportunities. It creates all the white-collar jobs, most of the white-collar jobs that you guys are in college to study for. Right? It creates a lot of economic opportunity. If I die, I know the company doesn't go with me. The investors are the ones who are going to keep going. Right? So IBM still keeps going, even though Thomas Watson's long dead. Right? Steve Jobs dies. Apple Computers seems to be doing just fine. Right? This is a distinctive difference in terms of how money and profitability is driven. This value added is going to be what? It's going to be focused on how you make stuff. And to make a profit, you can do one of two things. You can bring in a bigger, brand new machine to run more efficiently, productivity, or you can keep a cap on wages. And we talk about wages and unions and all this kind of stuff. The only way any of that makes sense is if you understand the economic system that's unfolding here. There's a natural conflict between wage and profits. And it's a part of industrial capitalism. Why don't you see unions before the 1860s? You really do. You see them, most of them are kind of Christian organizations and New Testament kind of stuff. By and large, you don't see skilled or unskilled labor unions until when? Until this economic system begins to take root. And people start saying, you know, wait a minute, I'm the one who's making the money here. I'm the one that's adding the value. Shouldn't I get a cut of the pie? Right. Those kinds of questions are going to appear as a result of this. So make sure and be very clear. This kind of capitalism is what we're going to be talking about. Not this kind of capitalism. And it's a totally different response. 3 facts that everybody should know about capitalism. Right? All you hear today, radical this, radical that, Saul Alinsky this, all that. You want radical? Look at capitalism. Capitalism is the single most radical ideology on the planet. Don't believe me? Ask Derrick Rose, right? 5 years ago, Southside Chicago housing project, now worth $250 million. Ask Steve Jobs, right? Ask somebody who is raised in, I would imagine that most people in this room have a desire to say, you know what, here's the conditions in which I was raised, here's what I aspire to. You would be a fool if you thought that in any other economic system than in capitalism. Right? Because capitalism allows for that kind of transformation, as they say. Radical. I'm hoping all of you come back millionaires 10 years from now and decide to endow your history program with all kinds of money. Shower them with money, right? But you can do that. You have the opportunity to do this within this economic system. I made the point before about Karl Marx. Oh my God, Karl Marx. We can't say that. We're too young, right? Marx reminds me more than anything else. Marx reminds me more than anything else of a tough coach. Right? He has a political philosophy which is sort of idiotic, and I'll leave that for the 20th century. But he's an economist. He's looking at what's going on. And when he writes about it, he's nailing it 100%. The reason why I say he's like a coach, any student athletes out there, right? Do you want to coach? You show up and you're like, well, I got to run wind sprints, and you kind of jog across the room. And, yeah, that's fine, no problem. You'll do great, right? Or do you want to coach? Come on, pick it up, let's go, move it, work harder. In a sense, what Marx is writing about is a critique of industrial capitalism. And at the heart of it, you don't have to read this quote, you've probably heard it before, the constant revolutionizing effect of capitalism. It rips things apart. It is like a tiger in the middle of nature, and it does what it wants to do. Right? And we're happy with that. It says something about our American culture. We're okay with that. It's going to scare the shit out of people in the late 19th century. Texas farmers, people who are going, you know what, I can lose my land if I'm not productive. Yeah, you can. Welcome to the new world. Right? Welcome to the new economy. Sir, you had a question?
Well, wasn't there other economic systems where you can have more social mobility? Capitalism is the one.
I don't get your question. Say it again. I just didn't hear it.
There are other economic forms that have social mobility other than capitalism.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By and large, though, none have the same level of economic mobility. I mean, you know, the best example is slave system, right? You're going nowhere. And in large part, the southern white population goes nowhere because there is no economic upward mobility. They go back to those Republicans in Congress. What are they saying? That is the engine that needs to change. That's the chip that gets you into Vegas, right? That you can now play in a capitalist marketplace. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Did I sidestep? But skillfully avoid the whole question entirely. Right? Rule number one, capitalism is radical. Rule number two, capitalism doesn't care about you, about me, about God, about the United States of America. Right? It is an economic system that rewards one thing and one thing only, productivity. Right? Here is a fact. I'll get to this later on. Here's a fact. The money that you have on you right now, any money in your wallet, any money in your pockets, your purse, whatever, is losing value. Maybe just a little bit. The $20 you walked in your pocket with today, 50 minutes later is less valuable because it's not being used productively. If you want to keep buying cell phones, Bonky wants to keep buying new light pens, fine. I want to buy, you know, all the Coke and Coca-Cola. All the soft drinks in my area, I want fine. That is not a productive use of capital. Somebody is going to be taking advantage of that economically. Radical. It doesn't care. And again, does a tiger care? There's a little Bambi sitting in the woods. Tiger comes up. Rah! Oh, that's bad. Tiger doesn't care. Tiger's got to eat. There's nothing wrong with tiger. Right? That's what it does. And to look at it and say, oh, well, capitalism will stay in America. No, it won't. Unless we keep it in America, it will do nothing. Okay, last point, and I'll let you out of here. It does care about productivity. What we're going to be looking at here is a very radical change in the way in which our economy produces. That word is an important one. Production. How are things made? He was the cooper sitting down in Corpus Christi making a barrel a day. Suddenly somebody's showing up with 100 barrels a day. That is a change in the economic system. Okay, pick this up again on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll have sound by that point in time.